So as you guys know, we talked about it on Friday and I said, hey, for this weekend's video, go ahead, throw your ticker down in the comments. Let me know what you're looking at. That way, just going out throughout the days, there's a lot of nonsense going on, as far as fintwit, Twitter, and so forth. And a lot of people just talking, a lot of ads, a lot of just BS, a lot of shilling, the whole nine. So it's hard to kind of say, hey, take a look at this. So that's why I wanted to do that this weekend and say, all right, look, everybody just dump your stocks on me. Let's go ahead and talk about them real quick. So I don't even know how many. It's just the first run, like 35 to 40 of them. So I'm going to try and do a little quick tidbit on each one if I can, without diving too deep. There are a few that I really like that I didn't even know about. So I'm glad that we're doing this. That way you can take the opportunity. Maybe you'll like it too. Maybe you won't. But, as is always, I'm not a financial advisor. Just here to talk about OTC stocks and have a good time. Don't need SEC knocking on my door. We're just paper trading the whole nine. So let's go and get into it. So we're going to try and do a speed run on this. So the first one we're going to talk about that I actually covered in the last video, maybe the one before that, is OSCI. So thanks to my buddy Cold Hard Cash. So he actually, put his, I guess this for his pick, quote unquote. And this is one that I've covered a little bit, lately, just because, I saw the volume, and it's something I've always had on my watch list from last year because this thing exploded, then they just disappeared. But, as you can see, it's starting to channel up. It's really starting to move. And, they came out. And then when they came out and said, good morning, shareholders, we had some management changes and we were working to bring everything back to compliance. Very excited, yada, yada, yada. Everybody's like, okay, cool. How long is it going to be? Is it going to be 6 months? Are they really going to do it? Then they hit it the other day. They said, good afternoon. We are pleased to announce the hiring of our new IR team. Communication, engagement, and commitment to our shareholders is a priority. Look for on-site updates coming around the corner from the mine. Okay, and then I guess they have a little email here if you want to email them. So they're actually going to have updates from the mine. So I don't know if they've already started drilling or mining, what have you. So definitely interested to see, looking for PRs coming out of this one. Next one we're going to talk about is SMMR, and this one's funny because, for one, the share structure is insane. So, it does have a big AS, but, the market cap is 500,000, and so this is a pretty cool merger. And, normally if you would have, a few years ago, I would have been like, oh, no way, it's just not my thing. But, it's actually Super Anime Store. So, they have 5 locations currently. We'll see how big they want to grow. But I was looking at this because, I have a 9-year-old son and, we watch Demon Slayer the whole nine. And, they actually have this 500-piece Demon Slayer puzzle. So if you're watching this SMMR, feel free to just send that my way, buddy. But then here's the official press release talking about it and, going forth. But the thing that's crazy about this, look at this, it's held at DTC. This was just updated too. So the float is anywhere between 2.7 million and 4.6. So this thing is tiny, 3 cents. You can see the spread is between 0.26 and 0.04. If this thing gets volume, blowing wide open. This thing could go 10 times from here, no problem. But the biggest thing is, a lot of people like some speculation. So what can SMMR bring to the table? Are they going to have giveaways? They're going to have, expansions and so forth. So keep that one on your radar. I think that one's really cool. GBHL, Global Entertainment Holdings, same thing, good share structure. What is it, around $1 billion, as far as unrestricted, 3.5 million market cap, and then kind of going through it. So they haven't really made any updates in a while, but, as far as the price, it's really good. So once they do start communicating, I know they had their merger back February 9th, this could be a really good one. All right, next, Zuki. So this is the old, what was it, Lucy. So this was a gaming development. I don't think they did gambling. No, I'm pretty sure it was like P2P gaming and so forth, as far as the merger that they had. This is their website. Yeah, P2E games, influencer engagement tools, and so forth. So they haven't been active in a while. So I know they're raising some money, so that could be why. They might be going a quiet period, but they said they wanted to raise some money to go ahead and, launch the platform and get influencers and so forth, on their gaming app. So, whenever they do start coming alive, just looking at this one, what was it? I don't have a chart up for it now, but 0.4095 is the spread. So if you can catch some at 4 cents, this should wake up one day. But even at 9 cents, I've seen this thing make some prolific runs to, I think it was like 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and higher. So definitely keep Zuki, as far as the low float crew. Next one. SRCAF. So this is a lithium stock, and I couldn't find too much onto it, but I was looking through the assets and seeing that they are growing year over year, so that's pretty cool too. So I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into that one, but good share structure. And I looked at this and I saw, as far as the spread, I don't know if the spread's actually 13.50, but if it is, bizarre. I mean, as far as the share structure, I could definitely see it. But so I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into that one. And then the next one we have RBSH, and same thing, sub 500K market cap. So if any news comes into this thing, sub 10 mil float, it's going to explode. It's like a penny with a 10 mil float, like just unheard of. And, I was kind of looking through it. Now, I didn't really see any news or updates, but I did see it was bot mania. I mean, this tight share structure at lows, any pressure, it goes hard, close watch. I mean, just constantly, the bots were just going crazy on this one. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on that one. B-Leg. So this one, I wish I would have seen it like a week ago, and I feel like somebody might have told me about it. But, it's churning, it's having its little consolidation, then fell off. I don't know, maybe dilution. As you can see, the accumulation plummeted, and then it's starting to curl back up. But, I went to their Twitter, and they kept saying, big things happening. A letter of intent sent out last week, could unveil some big news. And then they're actually having a Spaces coming up Monday at 10:30 a.m. With their news that they're going to be announcing. So definitely going to be checking into that. And, it says here multiple contracts have been signed and more are being signed and, on the way. So this is a pretty cool one. I mean, with the share structure as well, if, retail gets behind this, they can really push it. But yeah, if you want to jump into that, so that's going to be Monday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Next one. So this is Billy Bob stock. Bill has been on this thing for eons. And I know there's a lot of longs in it. And it doesn't do it justice because the DD is really cool, as far as Stage It, VNU, their concert series, they're playing the Metaverse project, but, just looking at their news. Remember when they announced, they had a Metaverse Roblox project that they were going to be going through, and this thing ripped. Then they talked about the Uplist, the S1 spinoff, that they wanted to do the S1, go through the audit process and so forth. And, just look at the chart. This thing, if they pull up the weekly, it's made some crazy moves in the past. So getting it down here, I mean, few ticks away from trips almost, but accumulation is actually pretty good. So I know they've done some fundraising, and they do have some dilution, but the biggest problem is you don't have buyers to offset that dilution. There's not enough, I guess, consistent news, and I know a lot of the longs did leave out of the stock, and some have stayed and some are still buying because they believe in what the company is building, what they're growing. But this thing used to trade at a penny, 2 pennies, so you're getting heck of a deal down here. So let's see if it can break the downtrend. You can see it wants to curl up into here. We'll keep an eye on that, as far as their news. And I think they just had some stage of Celtic Thunder, Nations Liberty. Yeah, so check into VNU. I mean, like I said, very undervalued here. I don't want to take too much time on it. Bill also mentioned PCLI. Haven't seen too much on this, but I guess it's just trips, low float stock. And then, as you can see here, 600K market cap. And then the next one is ASTA, ASTA. So ASTA is very cool. I remember when they had Yoda riding the elephant, and I love the management team. Very eccentric, very outgoing. They always have really cool PRs getting ready. And then if you look at their Twitter, it's like, we will not compromise our values. Finishing audit, ready ledgers, multiple case motions to compel forensic evidence, fundraising calls, yada, yada, yada. So they go through here, and then they're talking about going back to Pink Current. And they were talking about great meeting with Eventus yesterday regarding, as far as their quarterlies. And then they talked about this. We're just finished an exciting meeting with a potential partner and new NATO member. The discussions were amazing and showcased potential for strong collaboration and long-term relationships. So ASTA has a lot going on behind the scenes. And, looking at the chart, they definitely started grinding it up some, kind of broke down. It broke into the downtrend, and now it's just kind of hovering around 50s. But accumulation's all-time high. I know a lot of people hold a bunch of shares on the stock. And then, I think the market cap's like 35 million. So for like a $5 billion stock, as far as the float, it's held strong. There's not too many sellers on this. And then, so we'll see. We'll see what they bring to the table. Waiting on big news out of that one. All right, next one we're going to talk about MIKP, MIKP. This one's very cool as well. Kind of reminds me of the one in the beginning was the SMMR. So this, they have Elvira, or not Elvira, Lady Death. And then, let me see here. Yeah, we are so excited to our revision with you next Tuesday. So this is actually going to be a Zoom call, and I'm not sure if it's still going to be in Cornerstone in their Discord, or maybe they're going to be showing it in two different places. But as you can see here, oh, that's right, Vampirella, not Lady Deathstrike. And then, but they have a bunch of different stuff. I mean, as far as their stories that they're building, as stories are, what is it? Shareholder conference, okay. And then enters late stage negotiation for a massive IP, iconic American masterpiece pursued by like Marlon Brando, Janis Joplin, and so forth. So they're building a nice platform, as for their company. But I'd say the biggest thing that they talk about is that they're proud of is Vampirella IP. So if you want to join into the actual Zoom, here it is right here. So check into that Tuesday, 7/25 at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. GRCU. So this one made a really nice run. Came out of trips, ran into, was it 17, 18s, did have some dilution, pulled it back. And, as you can see, the accumulation got pretty wrecked. And, coming off of highs, it's back down here. I mean, double bottom, triple bottom, quadruple bottom, infinity bottom. So 0004. But the benefit of that is if you can get some of these and they kind of chill out on the dilution, or maybe it's not even dilution, maybe it's just comments being sold. It could be a shareholder that was inside. But just looking through here, we were hyper focusing on identifying opportunities, health, wellness, ESG, and clean energy space. Then they talk about their competitive views, and they said you don't have to be loud to get strong. And it seems like something's coming, but at the same time, we need substantial PRs, 8Ks, and so forth to keep, because they did talk about, was it 5 acquisitions that were going to be pushing through a lot of cash flow through here. So, it could be a growing company, but, we definitely want to see something more substantial come through instead of, you don't have to be loud to get strong. But as a trip stock, 0004, this to me is an awesome buy right here, but same thing. Not a financial advisor. Don't call the SEC. Thank you. All right, next one. This is one of my favorites right now. CEOs. I mean, not only that, because of what the company is, what they're doing. The chart is awesome. As you can see here, it's tried to break out of 045, and I covered this in the last video. And then now it's just hovering around, mid threes, and it tends to do 038 or to 04. It'll try and break over 04, but you can see these wicks just does not have enough volume yet. But I think that's going to change. So when we talk about Psyche, and I played this last time, so I'm not going to play it this time because same thing, we have like 40 stocks to run through. They talk about Vetcom, and then you can go to Vetcom's Twitter as well. But she basically says, lights out. Like, it's coming. Earnings are going to be huge. Remember, this company could be a future almost billion-dollar company. Yes, you heard that right. So, from their PRs that they put out in the past saying, how many veterans they want to get on board, and 200 million to 900 million. I mean, it's just going to be absurd. So really excited to see their earnings come out in August. Next one, HIRU. Covered this one a million times. Problem with this is you could tell, it wants to break this downtrend. As much as I love this stock, as you can see here, it's been holding strong. It's kind of peeking over, like it almost wants to go back into 30s. So we could see it pop into 38, 39 next week, and I'm sure buyers will step in and buy it, but I just hate that, they want to mess up a pretty chart. So I know longs are trying to hold on. But, as Hiru said, they're like, hey, financials would be in 2 weeks, plan to keep buying shares. So hopefully they can buy enough not to break this downtrend, just because love the chart. But, I'm very interested to see these financials coming in a couple of weeks, because they said they're overachieving, they're doing well, they're growing, new customers coming, awesome long company. Next one, NXEN. So this is from Mr. Low Floater himself. I don't know anything about this company. I started looking at it, and I couldn't really find too much, but I could see, I mean, it's probably a big spread, but it's made some nice moves, I'd say, in the past couple of months. And I was looking at it here, 2 mil market cap, sub 10 mil float. And then, as you can see, it's a bio company. So I don't know too much about it. So if you want to drop some in the comments of what you do know, that way everybody can see, we could check into that one. And then, let's see the next one, AXA, AXXA. So this one, same thing. It's made some prolific runs in the past, but they do have debt, churning through debt, and the problem with that is not enough volume to offset the debt. So now you can get it even cheaper. What is it? Closed in 20s, 28. It's crazy. Now, let me show you why. So this company right here, let me just go to what they put out. So this is their highlights. Okay, so 650 grand in cash. 75 million assets, total assets 250 million, revenue 50 million, profits 15 million, current liabilities are 17 million, long-term debt 45, total liability 62. So if they can get this cash up and squash a lot of this, ripper. I mean, this thing, it trades thin, but same thing, they have debt they have to churn through. They really do. So you get an opportunity to have it at such a low price, but they're talking about having an audit coming. And then they're talking about doing a spin-off as well. And then, they kind of go through. So they're very active. They're talking, hey, we're trying to get the debts under control. We got a lot of money, a lot of profits, a lot of cash. We're doing a lot of things, but, so we got to churn through this debt. So keep an eye on that one, especially once it finds bottom and they start putting out that spin-off news, or they're like, hey, our debt's done, or we're locked up our debt, for long preferred. Explosion time. NUGN. I love this stock. I really do. I love what they do. I love the niche part of the company as far as, the movies and, everything they do, the film. But I don't know what is happening. And I know they have same thing, some debt as it's OTC. Surprise, somebody's got debt. But accumulation is pretty good. And then, it broke. I think this is when they had the big news too. Big news hit and then it kind of tumbled down. So I'm not sure if they paid with commons for this acquisition. So I'll definitely have to look. But, and then when they talk about here, this is today's the PR from a couple of weeks, was it about 10 days ago, about their mergers they're having, or the acquisition is 32 million acquisition contents across portfolio of movies, TV, shows, and games. So I mean, it's huge. The market cap's 5 mil. They're continuously growing. But same thing applies. You don't have enough, I'd say, volume pushing through to churn out some of this debt, then eventually it's going to start tapering down. But I mean, this thing is crazy undervalued here, and I know a lot of long-term holders are like, wow, and Nugent under 2, steal. What is this, 52-week lows maybe, or at least yearly lows for that. But it's definitely oversold. So once they start putting out a little bit more news, it should start to pop back up. But so keep an eye on that one. Great company, great future. And then ASII. So same thing with this one. Accumulation's actually really good as well. And 400,000 market cap, crazy. I mean, it's 500 mil float and this thing's a trips. So you could sneeze and this thing's going to run. But, they haven't put out updates in a while since March, May. So it doesn't matter what happens. Anything positive comes out of this, they could acquire a bowling alley and this thing's going to run. Doesn't matter. So if you're going to accumulate, like, hey, they're eventually going to have it. I'm sure a few people are grabbing some lotto shares of that one, or just loading, whatever. CVAT. So thank you for putting this on my radar. I checked into this one. It looks great. As you can see, broke downtrend. Was that back in April, May, and climbed all the way up, and then started to break down again. And then, but they have a pretty big merger coming through, so I might dive a little bit deeper into this one. This is their company Twitter. But it's a nanotechnology company, a sustainable future, founded in 2007. CTI currently has over 40 patents worldwide. So big merger, patents, nice share structure, and getting it at a discount. So I'm definitely going to start looking at this one a little bit more going into next week. Looks pretty good. HWNI, same thing, good share structure. Accumulation looks really good. Never even heard of this stock, but I started looking into it, as far as cybersecurity. And I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into this one because this one, it might have some big moves coming up soon. This one's funny. OMID. So I've never heard of it. Same thing, and that's why I like doing this, because some things you never know. People drop it on your lap and say, hey, look at this. But, broke out, and this thing's having a nice run. Pulled all the way from 4, 5s up to 9, basically 10 cents. But, I was trying to look at what they're doing or what kind of news is coming. And the first thing that popped up was the old Jim Carrey, mid short. So everything I was looking through, it kept saying, short squeeze, short activity, short squeeze, short activity. And I know for OTC that's kind of like, whatever. But it might be true. So, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into this one, but, chart's a little hot. But it might be one that just randomly pops up 1,000%. So I want to dig a little bit deeper on that one too. BBuzz. So what intrigued me about this is, and thanks to North Shore, he's the the Catalyst King. So, they talked about set to launch its revolutionary super app, the ultimate solution for seamless connectivity and enhanced user experience. But I'm like, okay, an app, whatever. And then, this is great. This kind of reminds me of TXTM, or, something Asta would do. People to the moon. But look at where this stock was, back in January, February, March, April. I mean, it was 30 cents, 35, 40 cents. So I'm like, okay. And then I know they were supposed to get this app out a while ago. So is it going to go back there? I mean, that's my big question. So you can see it wants to start curling. You really did. Accumulation looks great. Now, they said this app's supposed to hit by the end of the month. So it could continually grow. I'd say, I'd probably look at these MAs. 13 is probably going to be your next resistance if you can push through 11s, 13, 17. I mean, this thing could just fly. And I looked at the app and how it, kind of puts everything together. But yeah, it's interesting to me. I was checking that out. I was going through reading their PR, and then so we'll keep an eye on that one. Good share structure, same thing. It was trading at 40 cents not too long ago, 11 cents almost near bottom. So looks good. D-Lock. So I know a lot of people were trading this one last week, and this, it's made some really nice moves. And then good share structure, trades very thin. And then, they've had news recently out of, was it FIU? Yeah, so they had this news before, and then it's kind of like an update. So, when they talk about the development plan, so once they get this thing rolling and, it's efficient, it's moving, and they start really getting into it, I think this thing can make a huge run. Share structure is good. News is good. It's a niche company, so, love it. ENZC. Can't go wrong with ENZC. And the thing I like about this one, as you can see here, what it Tesla's back in February, and then, curled up, exploded on, the spinoff news. Was a $250 million merger, and then, kind of did have some dilution. I don't hear anybody say it didn't. I don't even know if it was dilution, but somebody was selling shares. But regardless, that's over now. Well, I don't know if it's over, but, it's definitely bottoming out. So, what is it, 04 is, let's see, back in 2023, February, January. So 04 should be, I mean, this thing's basically bottom. And I know they had an update on the Sagamore merger, and they were saying, what is it going to take, maybe another month, and it kept extending it. But then they said, the combination was going to be 350 million or 450 million. I don't know, but I do know when this gets its date for that merger, it's gonna rip again. Because I mean, as you can see, when it's going good, it's going good. But once this, like I said, once this thing gets that date, you're gonna catch me all over this. So like, hey, our merger is gonna be September 1st. Find me on the front lines. So, SWRM Swarm traded a bunch in the past. They've never really put out anything substantial. So, I knew they have their app and they're trying to, build this, and they're trying to do this, they're running on the East Coast development, East Coast marketing push towards showcase their new expansive app e-delivery. But it's never enough to really punch it through. But definitely, I mean, it's at bottom, so you can't really beat it. So once they do have good news come out, it should rip. It's got a good share structure, low market cap. So, Swarm, let's see if they can start getting it rolling. And then, there's our Twitter if you want to find their Twitter. And then DDDX. This is a good one. I look back at it, and I remember this thing being at like 8-10 cents, and I saw now it's, 0.26. And then I started looking at it. I mean, they had recent news. Let me pull it up here. As far as the U.S. Navy. But one thing I went down and looked at, and then it also says company is now in the process. Pull that. Companies now in the process of submitting manufacturing proposals to Marine Max, Brunswick, Mastercraft, All American Marine, Vision Marine Technologies, BRP, Grupanto, Hans Yacht, and Hansi, whatever it's called, Corvus Energy. So 3DX Printing, if they start getting in big contracts, like, hey, Navy signed us a $100 million deal. Who knows, 10 million, $5, we never know. Regardless, it's a Navy. They get a Navy deal, should explode. I'm a little surprised it hadn't already, but definitely follow their Twitter for more updates. Looks good, especially down here. Seems low risk. And then as far as the next one, EPAS. This is one of my favorite stocks to trade. It really is. Once it finds bottom, you can usually see a few wicks start to wick here at bottom, and then you see back here, 004 support back in February. So a lot of these stocks are starting to find lows back from February. So, they had nice moves up into February to March to April, and then they're finally bleeding back down. It's just a cycle that we go through because these stocks, they run out of catalysts. So they had the big news with the Air Force, and then, working in this and that. And then they just had, was it $2 million worth of drones to Ireland government? Irish government? But either way, if you can catch them under 004, you're golden. I mean, pick some 38s up and just hang on to them for a little bit because they're going to run it again. They always do. I mean, look at how many times this thing's run to 005, 01, 01. I mean, so, down here seems really low risk, but they do have some debt. So, if you do see this 004, maybe 38 break, might be a little iffy, but right now I think it's pretty good, especially for the share structure. It doesn't take much to move it. And then this is their Twitter. Feel free to follow them. Put the bells on, and that way you get the updates whenever they're going to start launching things. ABML. I remember this one from 2021, 2022-ish. That had a couple big runs. And I put here, Anonymous25 actually wrote this. Date closer to end of September, where they'll recycle lithium batteries, and their first plant is expected to be operating by then. Management and team are amazing and filled with ex-Tesla folks who built the Nevada Gigafactory. And then Ryan Meltzer, CEO, is the reason to invest. So I'm definitely going to dig a little bit deeper into this one, especially at this price. Based on all the red candles, it could come down here into 60. Depending on the next catalyst, but it might walk up into September. So if I can find a date saying when they're, I guess their plant is going to open up or when they're going to start recycling, it might be a nice move. It might be a nice move into that date. All right. Whew. Get thirsty. Next one, EMGE. So they just had their 1Z filed, basically saying offering was done, and, it made its nice move here, popped up. Might be able to hold, around here, but usually, this stock, they just don't talk enough. If they communicated with people, this thing would probably be 01. Good share structure. What is it? Let me put it here. So, 1.3 mil market cap. And, you look here, 220 million DTC, we'll call that the float. I mean, all they have to do is say, hey, this is our update. And they talked about a spin-off for a NASDAQ back in, what was it, May? They haven't said anything since then, but it exploded then. And if they bring it up and say, hey, we found our date for that, S1's filed, audit's coming, explosion imminent. So keep an eye on EMGE, and 002 is generally bottom. 002, 21, 22. Next one, HDUP. So somebody actually requested all three of these at once. So HDUP, this has made same thing, some prolific runs in the past, but I'm not sure exactly what happened with some of their business models. I know they had a big merger they're working on, but hasn't closed yet. But down here, 028 down to 025 seems to be bottom. They haven't put up too much news recently. They did say, HSUP is leading a group of 3 companies with acquisition of a U.S. land-based casino that includes 3 online gaming licenses. 22 revenue was over 13 million. So they do have news coming. But I know a lot of the long holders got kind of upset with them, and they're like, yeah, I'm ditching this one. But can it move again? Yes. Will it move again? Probably. Once they do put out news, it usually runs to at least 035. If it's big news, as you can see up here, it's around 7, 8, 18, 20. So pretty low risk down here, but same thing. If they're going to be quiet forever, we'll see. We'll see what the next set of news is. All right. And then MONI, or as I call it, MONI. This chart is awesome. As you can see back from February, it's been the slowest climb, and with this uptrend all the way through, if we follow this trend line. As you can see up here, I would call it a double topped around 0.3, tried to push through, wick through, no luck. So based on the chart, if we are going through here, maybe 0.25, where you could see this, the MA's crosses, 0.25, 0.26 will hold. But, we are waiting on this massive merger. They've been talking about pay attention, and we're talking about Borders too. Apparently he's been buying a whole rack of shares. But the incoming company's year-end close on June 30th. The expectation of audited financials for incoming companies are expected to be completed any day. The merger expected to be completed in the current month. So there's, 9 days left? So let's see if they get it done. Let's see what the merger is. I know it's supposed to be like a multi-part merger acquisition thing. So I'm just curious to see it. But chart looks good. If it could really push through 0.3 and just keep going, I mean, this thing could explode. So, keep an eye on that one. And then let's see, we got GVSI. So same thing. This to me is old school OTC. Because, I mean, I know a lot of people aren't happy with George Sharp. And if he's watching right now, he's already blocked me probably like 3 times. But the thing with GVSI is it's really a patient play. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's a shell, it's garbage. But, OTC is all built on sentiment. So right now, our sentiment was bad because they're like, oh, we got to go through the court, we got to do this, then we got to get the share cancellation, ladies and John. It's going to be a year. But you can see what happens when things start to happen. So last time they tweeted 015. This time, hey, name change coming. It's going to be, GVSI. It's going to change to, American blockchain, or, we'll pull it up here. Having disposed of prior management's appeal to SEC regarding Fender's previous name and symbol change, will apply for a name change to American blockchain and a symbol change to either, BLXS or BLKS or BLCH. But, same thing. They don't know how long FINRA is going to require it. Now, whether you're long on the stock, or you just trade it, or whatever the case may be, anything under a penny to me is pretty good. That's what I was accumulating. I was like, look, I don't know when this is going to go, but it's going to go eventually. It might take all year, but it's one of those ones that if you accumulate, kind of like I had OSCI last year, I was like, they said 3 big announcements once it was pink. So I'm like, okay, I'll accumulate. It's got to be pink eventually, right? It took like 7 months, but that was like a 500% gain within 2 days. Not saying GVSI does that, but it's going to go. Once Sharp starts getting into it and saying, hey, here's the name change date, FINRA, it's on FINRA's report, and then now we're going to talk about an acquisition, it's going to go. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, George Sharp, this and that, but I don't create the bias. I just think of the catalyst, and that's what I am, a catalyst trader. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Appreciate you watching. I know it was kind of a long one, as we talked about. I don't even know, it was like 35, 40 stocks. I hope I got everybody on it. So I'll go ahead and throw the names up here for everybody that, each one that went through. So same thing, subscribe to the channel, drop me down in the comments, what you thought about the video, and, the stocks listed if they have any upcoming catalysts. That way everybody else can look at it too. So appreciate you guys watching. See you next time. Peace.